All right, I want to welcome everybody to tonight's live show. We have here Ryan from RPS Dent Specialist joining us today or
What
every
up,
day.
guys?
And we have Ryan from Windy City Dent. I'm sorry, Dave from Windy City
What?
Dent Repair.
What's up, guys?
And Chris from Dentless Touch. Today we're going to talk about the ups and downs, hopefully more ups than downs, of becoming a PDR technician. I think there's some misconception on how easy it is to learn this trade. And I guess we're just going to talk about our experiences, talk about what people have, talked to us about, that brought to our attention. Because I think most of us have been, 10 years in, so we kind of can't remember the first day or the first week. But we have, each one of us has trained a guy, I believe. And so we
People
kind of
tempted.
brought back some of those memories. So we would love to discuss it with you guys.
So we got tools first there, Chris. We got some good tools.
For sure.
Go for it.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go first today. We're switching it up, guys.
Oh, man. All right. So I normally don't call tools money makers, but this tool has saved me so much time, which in turn will save you, will expedite that repair, which would obviously give you more money for the time. So this is a Stanliner Pirate hook, and I am completely unprepared, so I don't know the price of this tool. I believe it's probably around. Ryan, did you buy one? Do you know?
I did not buy one, but I believe it was like in between 150 and 200, so it was in that range. I don't know what it is online.
Okay, so I want to
But
show
it's
you
not
guys.
it's not over $200. I know that.
Okay, and what makes this tool unique is that curvature right in the end, and then obviously it's the Pirate hook unique design. But if you guys remember the Subaru I did fender, this is the tool that stood out. I worked on another fender, really sharp dent. I showed the guys a picture of that. It'll probably be on my Instagram tomorrow. But I repaired that with no tape. So the Stanliner tools are, I don't know. I've never taped up a Stanliner tool. It just pushes so cleanly without tape. It's completely unreal because we're used to just a pick tool and having to tape that up. But with the Stanliner and their angles, you just do not really need it tape as much as you normally would. So check it out, guys. If you don't have the Pirate hook, it is a unique tool. You won't use it for all circumstances, but when it comes to these creases, you can get the right angle with this tool. It will save you a ton of time. So
What length? Do those come in multiple lengths, Chris?
They do, and they also come in another bend too. So this kind of whole tool will have another angle. But this is the 27-inch. I believe they have a longer one. I don't think they make a shorter one, and they have a version 2. So this end is a little different on the version 2.
It's a little sharper at that end, and that was the difference. So it's got a blue and gray handle. That's how you can tell that it was that they made the adjustment.
Okay.
But right on that little curved end that's kind of soft, it's a little sharper there.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah, on their website it looks like there's a 21-inch and then a 27-inch.
Okay. So they make a smaller version.
Or 27-inch standard or a 40-inch. That's what they're showing here.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of times where I probably would opt for the 40 because of the fenders. So I don't know. I would probably have to get both. Now,
limited quantities on those right now.
They're always sold out. So I mean, it's a hot tool right now. But
it's like the supreme of tools right now.
It is. It's the Ferrari.
Limited quantities, only a couple drops here and there throughout the year.
And so with Stanliner tools, it just has multiple contact points that you can push from. So you can push on the very edge right here. You can push on the back edge. And you can obviously use the curvature part, which is right here, to kind of roll creases and dents out. So, I mean, it's just, you have to get one of these. I think that's what opens the door to more Stanliner tools once you start working with this tool. So that's my tool, guys.
It's a good tool, Chris. Good tool.
Yep.
I'll go next. I've been on this knockdown kick, I think, for the last couple episodes here. For some reason, I've been like just knockdown is I don't know.
What you got?
But I've been using these Dead on Dent Tools match grade tips, and this is their
Good
sharp
stuff.
one right now. And I mean, I'm really, really liking this. I use the VIP, as you guys know. It's always in my pocket. That's metal on metal. So sometimes you can't use a metal knockdown on some of these finishes or for certain repairs. And so I brought this out from last year, MTE. I bought his whole kit, and this goes for I think $35 on his website. And I've been really, really enjoying it. It's super, super sharp. It's $25, sorry. $25. I'm super, super sharp, super fine point. I've been knocking on it for, I don't know, probably about a couple months now, and the mushrooming is very, very minimal. You get some of these knockdowns or these plastic knockdowns and use them on a couple dents and they just start to mushroom and they get a fatter and fatter head. So you're not as precise with your knockdown. So I've been using these Dead on Dent Tools match grade tips and they've been working really, really well. They have a
do they slip on the panel much, or is it? I've never used them, so
I don't feel that they do. When I'm using this one, I'm usually precisely hitting a certain spot. But it does come with the O-ring as well that you always talk about. So it has that set O-ring on there, which helps a lot with coming loose. Some of these tips.
Does it mark the paint at all?
I have not had any issues with this marking the paint. So when I've switched to this, and then this is what was on it before as well. So these are the two that I was using the other day. And I forgot that I had bought his whole kit. I found it in like a little plastic box from MT from last year. So
Dave's hibernating some tools. So
yes, from last year for MTE that I still haven't used because I have my kit and I know what works. But I needed something the other day. I forgot if I couldn't find my regular plastic knockdown that I had, or I needed a plastic tip, and the ones that I all had were mushroomed out. And I'm like, I know I have something in the truck here, and I had this match grade tip, so I put that on there, and I really, really like it. Dead on Dent Tools.
Matt's asking, have you tried to push with them yet?
I have not tried to push, and I couldn't forget because I thought there was a combo kit that I had bought at MT, and it was pushing and knocking down. But I can foresee you easily pushing with this as well. So
it's just that strong.
It's very, very strong.
Nice.
So Dead on Dent Tools, I would check them out. They're for $25 for a tip kind of seems pricey, but I have no complaints about this whatsoever.
Nice
tip.
Dead on Dent Tools, guys. What you got, Ryan?
So I've got my new Mobile Tech shade.
Okay.
So it comes. He's got a couple different suction cup options, and this really interests me. This is the new 4.5-inch Sea Sucker suction cup. I use this thing today, and the Sea Sucker, I never had to pump it. A lot of times with my other stuff, I had to pump a lot of times. It doesn't seem like with the woods, it usually has that filter like a regular suction cup. This does not. A little different bottom design, and it seems like it's softer rubber. So I use this thing today, and we had a little bit of wind today and never had to repump it. So this thing really impressed me today. It's my first Sea Sucker suction cup. I know a lot of times they make a lot of stuff for bike racks on the roofs of cars and all kind of crazy stuff. So, but it's an awesome suction cup. It's $79 difference, like total. So if you buy this separate, it's $79.
So that complete setup, how much is it?
Just the base. So he sells it with this base and the suction cup for $79.
Okay.
Not counting the arm. The arm's part of the whole thing. The whole thing I think goes for $259.
Okay.
But this suction cup, man, is really, really good. I really have no complaints. I mean, we had some serious wind today. and it never moved on me. My older woods, I had to pump a lot of times, keep checking on it, keep pumping it. This one, not once. So, and it's black and orange, so it works really well for my colors. So, Mobile Tech Shade. I've known Ian a long time. I've got an original, like one of his original Mobile Tech Shades. So, this is his updated version. It's a little different in the hardware on this one than my original one. So. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you.
Yeah, and I have no complaints about Mobile Tech Shade either. I've had a couple. I think it was when they first came out. I had purchased one, and there was something that went wrong with that mechanism you just showed right there. And I messaged Ian right away, and he was able to get me out another one. And sorry for the mishap. And the customer service was really on point with them. Or Mobile Tech Shade is a company. So
most of these smaller guys, you've got James Lee. I know Matt from Get a Grip is quick with the responses on if there's an issue. A lot of these smaller guys that are dent guys are really stand behind their product.
Ready to correct if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually my guys bought something while I was at MTE. I think I shared with you guys. And so Matt, I think, refunded me the difference for the discount, and I didn't even reach out to him. So I don't even think he knew that my guys ordered it. So I thought that was pretty good because he was running a promotion at MTE or just collectively on his website and stuff. And
and one of your techs ordered while you were at MTE.
Yeah, so they ordered while I was at MTE. I literally passed his booth and I was like, who has my card? Did I drop it? And so I look and I'm like, oh, these guys. So but luckily enough, Matt caught it, and I just looked today and was like, Get a Grip refunded you. I think it was like $44.
That's noble of them.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So,
and Matt's an active listener. Matt. He's actually on here right now giving you the thumbs up. So
I'm seeing. Yeah.
So if anyone has any Get a Grip questions, give him a shout right now.
For sure.
Like I've said before, get that XL strong arm. That thing is the best. Yep. Absolute best.
I concur.
Yeah. It needs to get like a little table, so I can put like my little glue gun. Yeah, man. I'm waiting for the table. That's gonna be where it's at. Mount a little low, but it's not on the ground. That'd be pretty good. Very good. So. But anyway, let's get to the topic. I'm pretty sure everybody's wondering our thoughts, and hopefully the chat can just keep going and you can share your thoughts. So we're going to break it down in sections. I think Dave, you were trying to ask Ryan some questions because he's just fresh with training, I think, today, right, Ryan? So
it seems like every day.
So you had some stories here that you could share. But we're going to break it down into, emotional effects of training, the technical difficulties, termination, confidence, integrity, attitude. And I think, Dave, you have a few, right?
I just have a couple thoughts or thoughts that I would probably say to a technician who's learning to kind of keep them upbeat and not get so frustrated.
Yeah. So let's go over just the first day really, really quick of our training, guys. If you guys can remember, this is the first day.
Oh, man.
What was your expectations when you first sat down on that seat? What did they do? Did they have you pushing the first day? What was it?
I remember, and they were like, in my head, I'm like, man, this is going to be easy. It's going to stick something in there, push this thing out. It's going to be no problem. And where I was trained, they have like a wooden table with this little piece of sheet metal in there with this little hole. And they give you this piece of metal that looks like a bent up piece of rod, almost like it's thicker than a coat hanger, but you stick it through the hole, and they have these little circles, and they say, push in the center of every one of these. Make it a little high spot. No knockdown available. You're just making high spots.
Okay.
And we get in there, and we are all over this piece of metal. Can't find the tip. Can't find the circles. It was terrible. So the last, like when we left out of there, it was very discouraging. I was in Missouri, away from home, not knowing anybody, staying in an apartment with some guy that I just met. So it was an adventure.
But that's almost like the military. Like they just
It
not
was.
necessarily just break you down, but they want to kind of bring you around, kind of mold you the way they want to. So they don't want any of your past or anything that could, arise while you're trying to train. So they put you in this guy, the team effort. You guys are learning together, so you kind of can relate.
I say this from time to time, and Chris and I have talked about this plenty of times. Taking you out of your element when you're trying to learn something, I'm a true believer that is a huge, huge thing.
It's an advantage. It's definitely an advantage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dave, you want to share? You want to share your first day?
My first day.
What were your thoughts? What were you thinking?
So, I mean, as I told you guys before, my first, even just being around PDR, I was working at a body shop as a porter, and I was always cleaning up glue tabs, and seeing them push with the metal sticks and, and just metal rods, and I don't know what they're doing. And then a couple of the other body guys, like typical body men, like, oh, we want to learn that too. So they bought a couple tools and they're all practicing. And so that was just me watching other people try to learn this and seeing how difficult it was. And then I had applied, or I had hired some company to, train me for 2 weeks. And it was an experience, to say the least. So it was in this warehouse, and it was during hail season. So the typical training center that they had was kind of broken down because everyone was away for hail. There was one guy who didn't. So they set me up on a hood stand with a hail light, and gave me a PDR finesse rod, the circus rod, a very sharp tip. And it was the checkered box and putting high spots in the checkered box. That was the first kind of just day of finding the tip, reading the light,
So what were you thinking before you put your hands on that tool? I mean, you seem like you had experience. You've seen PDR perform before. You probably saw how easy you think it is. So how were you thinking? What was your mentality?
Part was easy. I mean, that part, like the checkered box and putting a high spot in each one, like that kind of came pretty natural. Like that wasn't really hard. I mean, I'm just I'm
What about you, Ryan? Was that did you nail every circle that they
And it was very limited. So they just literally put a hole through this 2x4 and you stick the tool in there and you literally have very minimal movement. So it's kind of regulating you on what you can actually do.
Nice.
But it was it was definitely eye-opening. When you leave out of there, we were like, what were we thinking? Everybody felt the same way.
Yeah.
So let's go over the first week and your emotional kind of, I guess, feeling of your first week. Like that Friday after training, how was you feeling?
I need something good to drink is what I was feeling.
I was wore out and I was very unsure of myself.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was excited. And I was, ready to take on the next week, but like I could see how challenging it was going to be.
Did you have a new respect for the skill, the craft? The first week? When did you actually have the new respect? Was it the first day, first week?
First day.
Yeah. I had a respect, I think, because like I was still naive to the overall industry of PDR. So I mean, I actually didn't really start respecting the fact until I actually went online and saw people fixing like large damage. That's when like the respect that I had for PDR. And that was probably, maybe a month in or something like that, where I started Googling around, and looking around at PDR stuff, and then Facebook groups and Instagram, just random little things, and seeing what guys were capable of. And I'm like, oh. And that really like put me in my place, knowing that, okay, this is something that I'm gonna have to, because I'm over here pushing in little boxes and these guys are fixing smashed fenders. So how am I supposed to get to that? And so that really kind of put me in my place. But that wasn't until weeks later. In the beginning, I was pretty confident with the little checkered box and putting high spots in it, because to me it didn't seem that complicated. If I put a high spot in this little checkered box and I move my tool down in a straight motion and I push up again, well, I'm either going to be on that line separating the two or in that
Mhm.
second box.
Right.
You know, and that was kind of becoming like more common sense. And so that's
Right.
how I broke it down. And then I went to the right and I went back up and I went to the
Yeah.
right and I came back down. And I was doing that for, you know, the first couple of days, and that's just getting the feel of the tool. And most importantly, the light, reading the panel, the reflection of the light on the panel with your tip behind it. That to me is the most crucial part of PDR.
Yes.
Okay.
If
And
not the
I
most
think
important part.
I think for me, while I was at training, watching these hail guys come in and just fix this stuff blazing fast. You know, the good thing I was with a large company and it hailed, and they were legitimately still fixing cars there at their headquarters. And some of these guys, hands down, unbelievable. So that watching these guys, I'm struggling on this little piece of metal, and these guys are smoking cars. Two of them are just tearing cars up one after the other, after the other, after the other. I mean, that when I sat back after the second week, I was like, man, okay.
So that was the motivation part right there. So that, did that die off at any given and let me go back, because I want guys to understand when Dave was talking about he was very comfortable with pushing each box. I've trained about 3 guys, and I can tell you right now, Dave learned this craft pretty quickly. He's kind of a natural with this craft. So, you know, if you guys are struggling and you can't, if you do that test and you know, your first time sitting there and you kind of don't make hit all the boxes, it's going to be a slower learning curve for me. I didn't do that, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably one of the slowest PDR learners out there. At least I feel like that. But I can tell Dave has a natural talent to it from working with him. I work with Ryan, but he's just got so many years over me, so he's just naturally fast. So, but Dave, he's got probably like half the years on me, and he's quick.
And you guys have to realize that I learned on a piece of plexiglass with a spray painted line down the center.
Yeah, no lights. Same here. Dave, did you learn on lights or a board?
It was hail. So I worked for 2 different companies. So the first company gave me a hail light, and I was working with that. But the second company was the plastic boards.
Okay.
So I actually went back. You know, I kind of went back. You know, and I had to retrain my eyes again because this was the training process with this company. So, and that's what was needed to be done, and that's how they wanted things to. You know, how they wanted you to be trained. So, and it wasn't until, you know, with them 2.5, 3 years in until an Illuminant light came out.
Okay.
You know, but that difference there was huge from going the plastic boards to the Illuminant board.
Yes.
But in the beginning, it was my eyes were kind of all over the place, going from a hail light and then going to a plastic board and having to read that because there's no real fog. And so I was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think on my end, when I was training, I had 37 people in our class.
Wow.
So it was kind of a competition. It was very different.
Yeah.
It was very different back then. Now I kind of, it's changed a lot. Back then it was pretty much, if they didn't feel like you were going to learn this, they were sending you home.
Wow. Okay.
So seven of us graduated.
So out of the 37 class, 37 in a class, only 7. What is that, like 20%, less than 20%? You know, 16%. That's crazy.
And but it was very strict. It was like you said, like the military. We did push-ups, we did sit-ups in the morning, we did stretching. I mean, it was no joke. They were not playing around back then.
Wow.
So it was very, very structured.
Yeah.
Which was great for me. I mean, I'm still pushing. So,
and to clarify, I think some of those guys that missed out, the 7 that there weren't the 7, they probably could still learn this craft. I think just that company at that particular time just didn't have time to train them.
Yeah.
And so they didn't really have a need, if you weren't a quick learner, to train you. So I don't want to discourage anybody. But what was the first 3 months? And I think that's where everybody's literally training, or the first 2 months. What was your motivator, guys?
To just make it another week for me.
So what,
you know what I mean?
What motivated you? Just literally
because I wanted it that bad. At that point, I was like,
so that's what it was.
I'm here.
Financial motivation?
No,
was it a
not at all.
career driven?
Maybe career driven. I sat back.
Mine was career.
I'm going to figure this out. You know, I'm going to figure this out one way or the other. And I just kind of sat back and was like, I don't want to go home Friday. Every week we had a test. And if you didn't pass that Monday, you were going.
Oof.
So, you know, and me and Ryan actually did the same training. So I had a class of about 13, 9 went through, and it is competitive. So you're doing weekly tests on metal and on a book. And then they kind of weed you out in the beginning, and then whoever's left is you're doing still the weekly test, but they get harder and more challenging. But you're ranked. So my motivation was to be number one.
Did you succeed?
Yeah, I did. So, you know,
how many of those weeks were you number one? Here we go.
Out of the so it was what, 8 weeks. So out of the 8 weeks, probably 6.
Yeah,
I said 5 or 6.
Natural right there. Natural.
You know, if someone did better on the book, that would be the only reason why. You know what I mean? And then it came down to like only like 1 or 2 points for me and the guy in second, where he was above me. That week for the final test, he was above me that week before, and I said, no, I'm going to come out on number one, and I ended up doing it. So, you know, and that was really cool. But my motivator, I was so young that it wasn't career driven. It was just like, I'm going to beat this guy next to me. You know, I'm going to be better than him, because I was kind of too young to really understand what a career really was. This was a job to me at this point. And I just needed to learn this, and then I was going to go out into my own market and then kind of figure it out. But the motivator for me was having someone else. And so I think that's a huge factor if someone's trying to either train on their own or training with another company. Sometimes it's nice to have those 2, 3, 4 other guys, because you can bounce ideas off of each other, which is nice. But then that competition factor kind of plays in, and you really start honing in your skills because you want to maybe be better than that other guy next to you.
And I think it equals out the struggles. You know, when you're training by yourself and you're really struggling trying to learn this, and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to learn this, and you have another guy right there next to you that has the same struggles, it's not so bad. You don't beat on yourself as bad when you're like, okay, this guy's struggling just as much as I am. So I think it's definitely helpful when you have more than one.
Yeah, where I train, they love 2 at a time. They're not a big company. They can't do 30 people at the same time, but he likes to hire 2 at a time, because again, we play off of each other. And even when we go, 4 years in, that's kind of going to be my go-to guy because we went to training together. So we kind of have the same experience. That's the guy I would.
And you're looking over at their panel and seeing how they're doing, and they're looking at yours, and man, how did he do that? Okay, I see what he did there, and so that factor is huge. Especially in the beginning, stages of training.
And so for my motivation, when I first got hired, it was career, and I was 22, and I realized I need to spend my time focusing on a career, probably 21 actually. And I was either that or going to be somewhere in Walmart management, just whatever, because I didn't go to college, whatever. I think I was doing security, so I was making pretty decent money. But anyway, it was a career choice. I needed to do this because I knew that there were guys out there making money, not crazy money, but they were able to support themselves with their own place and stuff like that. So that's what intrigued me to this craft. And plus I get to work on cars. So that was a plus, honestly, because that's all I wanted to do was work on cars. So, but as far as the ups, what are some of the accomplishments that you've received while training that you can say, that pushed me, further, that kind of sealed the deal for me, or at least in some way that I'm on the right path, or I'm getting the right training, or I'm actually learning this stuff? Really, was there a dent that you fixed or something?
It's been so long for me, so it's very hard for me to remember.
I understand.
But just starting to get closer and closer to finishing dents. You started to see your progression in the repairs to where
the repairs show the progression.
Yeah. And that was kind of okay. And then next time you would even get it a little better or faster, and you get to see the progression. And I think that was a big help.
And so what I've always was taught was to number every dent you try to take out. I didn't have the boxes and all that stuff. It's literally knock a dent at and try to take it out. And you can see your progression by the first dent from the 50th dent. And you can actually say, okay, I'm actually getting better at this. It's not looking all chewy. So, and then the 50th dent to the 100th dent and to the 150 dent. So if any of you guys are training at home or just going through some tutorials, whether you're just going off of me or dent time or anything like that, definitely number each dent that you attempt, because you will look back at that hood. Sometimes I switch hood and go look back just to get some motivation to make, have me push forward. So
now I've got a good question for you, Chris.
what's up?
So if you have a tech that is training and trying to learn, practice at home,
Yes.
should they I already know the answer. Should they try to use an aluminum hood?
No, of
instead
course.
of a steel hood?
Yes. No, I mean, well, no, you're not supposed to use aluminum hood, and preferably a darker hood.
The answer that I got was, I want to work on the hard stuff, so when I get to the easier stuff, it's not so hard. I want to challenge my stuff right off the beginning. And I explained to him, you're already challenging yourself because you're trying to figure this out. So let's pick one hurdle at a time.
Yeah.
So.
And see, the aluminum's not forgiving. We all know aluminum starts to split. It starts to doing all kind of wacky things depending on which aluminum you have. So definitely steel is a little more consistent. You can kind of
manipulate
train. Yeah. And it's forgiving. So, but definitely dark color. So if you guys are looking at training, do not go out and buy a white hood, or if you get a white hood, you will struggle. And then put it in the sun. Do not do that. Now with these new HD lights that Ryan calls them, high definition lights.
It is, man.
It is. Put that hood in your garage or your kitchen or something, and go to town with the limited light or whatever you prefer.
And
go ahead.
No, and if you guys are learning this too or trying to get into it, you can go to a local body shop and there are plenty of scrap hoods. And if the one that you go to doesn't have one, the next 5, I'm sure will.
Yeah.
And so a couple of the hoods that I've gotten have, damage in the corner of the hood. But sometimes you can ask them, hey, are you going to be using this? I see it's in the back. It's scrap. Do you think I can go ahead and take this one? And a lot of times they'll go ahead and let you take some. So if you guys are, how do I get a hood? You don't just go out and buy one. You could probably go to a body shop and most likely pick one up from there. And that's going to be a way to at least start practicing. And like Chris said, a dark colored one is probably best.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be so beneficial. You'll actually enjoy doing PDR with a dark color. I think a lot of people are, they think it's just the pushing aspect of it. And I think Ryan and Dave, before we jumped on, we were actually discussing that you're training your eyes for the most part. If you can see the tip of your tool, then you pretty much can get the dent out. I would think you're doing some muscle memory to make sure you don't push, too aggressively or not enough. But ideally, I think by using the hood and using the light and actually attempting these repairs, you're literally just training your eyes. So, anybody that's 6 months in and struggling, or a year in, it all comes down to your sight. And so if you can't see, if your light's moving around or your light is
too far back,
or
too close,
you need to adjust that multiple times in my repair. Most of my videos, you now see me using 2 lights, moving my light around. That's why I love the Stucky light, because I can just quickly move it around just like a board, because I miss that board action. And so that's why I do enjoy the Stucky light. So it's all about that. Like Jonathan says, it's all about that light position, because that's it. That's the start of the dent. I mean,
the other thing is, you guys are going to feel it. You're going to get headaches. You're going to feel the strain on your eyes. That's all natural. That's all. It's part of the game, and you get past that point. I mean, there's plenty of times I've worked till 1 a.m. and drive an hour home, and you feel it in your eyes. And I've been doing it for that long. So when you get home from training and you're like, man, I got a headache, and it's all part of the process. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and push and polish said too. The mini goals are a great tool. So mini goals for him was, going to be pushing a dent out without creating high spots, or knocking it down without having to push. And I did a lot of those things, and in training they made us do a lot of those things. Where in training, with one, he said, "Here's a knockdown on a tool, and go ahead and go to town." And then the second training that I had was there was no knockdown available. So you're pushing this as precisely as you can. And if it took 2,000 pushes, then it took 2,000 pushes. But there was no knockdown available. You didn't have that crutch. And so I think, some guys maybe go for that knockdown way too quick, without actually understanding what they're doing with their eyes and their hands and the tool in their hand. That knockdown, they see other PDR technicians just beating on panels, and and that's how they're supposed to do it. I was taught, without that knockdown in my hand, and I was making stuff clean and finished and glassed, and it was the way to do it. And then all of a sudden, when there was that one mess up, now we were able to do grab that knockdown for one push that needed to be knocked down, not the entire dent, not the whole circumference around the entire area in the panel. No, it was for that one push that was not in the right spot, and you were able to take the knockdown and knock that one spot down. And that was a huge learning curve, or learning process, because you see other technicians who have knockdowns in their hands and hammers, and you think that's why they're fixing it. Well, no, that's not why they're fixing it. They're fixing it because they probably didn't use one in the first place, and they got the dent up cleanly without having to use it.
One thing I always tell the new guys that I'm training now, I'd rather you push it 800 times than 5 times. It's so much cleaner when you're bringing metal up slow than just getting in there and cranking, trying to get it up fast. And one thing that I realize with trainees are, if they're knocking down and you hear them and it's too hard, and they're saying, "I'm hitting this and it's not moving," and I physically take the knockdown out of their hand and hit it on the edge of the hood. Every time you hit that, it's doing something. If you knock that knockdown and you're like, it's not doing anything. Oh, it's doing something. Just keep hitting it.
That goes all back to eyesight. Yeah, they're not seeing what that knockdown is actually doing. Again, I mean, when you train your eyes, you can be a killer dent guy. It comes down to access, and then that's it. Just comfortability on pushing, and you are golden. You can't see. That's it.
You've seen it, Chris. I mean, I think it was the first hail car Chris and I did together. I fixed a really bad black Audi roof with an eliminate board, and he says, "You're crazy."
Yeah. But I've trained my eyes to put the light back 2 car limbs to glass it. Ryan's trained his eyes to glass it with the eliminate light 3 inches from the dent. I can't figure it out. But he's trained his eyes, So guys, if you're listening, don't go run and put your limit in like 3 inches away from the dent.
No.
But definitely, understand that. Train your eyes. You need to look at the dent. Move the light around. You need to read the dent, stuff like that.
If you can't see, you can't fix it.
Yeah, that should be tattooed like right there, or put on your light or something. Now, I know a lot of guys, are just, we spoke about just actual training. I know a lot of guys are actually rolling into the training and starting to learn how to become an entrepreneur. So that even adds even another level of difficulty. Yeah, some more stress. So is there anything that you guys can talk about on the ups and downs when it comes to the entrepreneur? I know we haven't really experienced too much of that while we're training. But is there anything that we can touch on that? Is any motivation, any positives and stuff like that on that? Maybe some of the guests.
One step at a time. Don't rush it. If you're trying to learn a whole lot of things at once, I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself.
So you really think it's best to spend about the first 3 to 6 months just learning it before you start thinking about business? I
believe so.
I agree. Yeah. It's just so much of a task.
Because if you've never run a business before, or even started a business in your life, then that's its own animal within itself. So I mean, PDR is not an easy skill to learn, an easy trade to learn. And then learning to run a business is just as difficult. And so here you're trying to tackle 2 things at once, and as just normal men, here, we have a lot of things going on in our lives. So if you're trying to learn one thing and it's giving you, ups, you're having these ups and downs, that's going to kind of dribble into probably some other aspects or other areas into your business that you're trying to start as well. So
totally. And baby steps. There's no reason to rush.
And Big P said, it's hard to compete in your area as a 1-year tech. And yeah, definitely. I agree. So, take your time, learn your craft, show your work, and then, you may get a chance to build that business.
And I think a lot of stuff in this business, in your training, in your building your business, is take your time and master your craft.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build.
When you should sell it, right?
Exactly.
When you figure you're a professional at it, which
exactly.
It's not going to be in 3 months.
No.
Or 6 months. So that's where I feel like you got a better chance when you're probably what time would you think, Ryan? And
what?
Like we all know building a business, it's always best to be a master of your craft. We just said it.
Yes.
So when you feel you have the confidence that you're a professional at this, what year do you think you'll be at as a technician? I know it's going to vary.
Probably be like 65.
So 6 to 5 years.
I still don't think I've mastered it.
Oh no, for sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I think we're all still learning.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I got this new tool here. I got to figure out. So I agree. Okay, so you guys have experienced also, people quitting or not succeeding in this PDR training. What do you think is the biggest contributor to actually them either quitting or getting fired? Like, what is the biggest challenge for people that they just really can't overcome?
Frustration and money.
So, okay. So it's maybe perseverance. It's more of money. Yeah, I can understand.
The frustration of I'm not learning this as fast as I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're training, you don't make a lot of money. Some guys don't pay their guys at all. Some guys pay them a very little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I mean, I think you had an instance with one of your guys that money really
wasn't an issue. Yeah.
It was an issue. So,
yeah.
What do you think, Dave?
I remember it being very frustrating for myself, and there was a lot of words that came out of my mouth as I'm screaming at the piece of metal as I'm trying to fix it, and that was on a lot, or it's just you in the car. But for me, it was the repair not coming out how I know it should. Yeah. And that for me, and how I'm doing everything I thought I was doing right. Why is this not coming out that way? And you just learn more and more over time with this trade. Yeah. Every day it's something new. Every dent is different. Every vehicle is different, and that's what can be very frustrating because nothing is ever the same. So you think you've learned something, or you think you've mastered this, dent on a hood, but then all of a sudden the next one's aluminum and you had no clue and you haven't worked on aluminum. So now you have to fix a dent on aluminum. Mm-hmm. Well, that could be a huge difficulty within itself. And that's, a hump you have to get over. And then also it's the same dent and it's in a brace under the hood. And now, I know how to fix it when it's open, but now I have to take a different tool and get the same result. These are all little frustrations that happen in the beginning stages of PDR. And then I think they kind of carry out as you start to tackle larger damage. Those frustrations are the same thing. Like, why didn't this come out that way? Or, I know I could have gotten this better. And you kind of get down on yourself a little bit. So the skill, just the trade itself is just frustrating overall. My light just fell.
Wow.
Well, push it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Right.
I've got a really good story I want to share with you guys at the very end of this. So let's get through this, and it's a pretty good learning experience for everybody in this discussion. So,
and Push and Polish just said something. It's one's attitude, and how I hire at my company is attitude, and there is some people that I've hired and I knew I was trying to change their attitude, give them a different light, different view, and it just didn't work out. So definitely you got to have an attitude that you're not going to learn this in a few months. This is something. What do you guys compare this to? If you had to compare it to a skill that you had to learn, I always say learning the piano. What would you say?
I say baseball.
Baseball? That
hand-eye coordination, man.
Okay. So like just the batting and stuff like that. It's just the years and
catching
years
a ball, watching a ball come. It's that physical eye, hand-eye, watching the ball hit the bat. It's the same factor.
Dave, would you?
I'm gonna go with like carpentry or woodworking, something like that.
I thought he was gonna say like swimming.
No, like I would say like carpentry, working with your hands, and I couldn't build a table if I tried. That's the thing. Like I'm also not good with working with my hands in any other aspect of my life. So I can't build something with my two hands if I tried. If I try to watch a YouTube video, I'm still gonna mess it up. This is something that I have a knack for, and I don't understand completely why. But I also break it down to where this doesn't seem that hard, right? You have something that's pushed in, or you have a dent and you're taking something and you're pushing it out. So that's how I really simplify it. And then it's breaking that down with what tools am I going to actually use to get that result. I try to simplify the entire thing.
So this is one of the downs. I'm sorry, Dave, but this is one of the downs that just had a comment come in, and I want to address this. He said he can't get into PDR because it's way too expensive. He said that's my major hurdle. I guess he thought we were going to ignore that factor, but we're not. Do you think PDR is expensive to get into?
No. The reason I say that is, like my wife, she went to school for years and paid for books, paid for classes for years. I mean, even if you went to dent time training right now, you're paying a premium. It's an extremely good training, but it's not as much as college.
No,
you know what I mean? In 2 years, you're gonna surpass what you put into it if you're really focused and really trying to get going. So I really don't think so. I mean, it's expensive but that's anything. You go to these trade schools. There's a big trade school over here for truck driving or tractor trailer experience. Or something. It's like $24,000. So I think it's like any other trade.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I agree with you guys. I don't think it's overpriced because you can still. It's almost out of the hobby realm. I'm looking at for my camera over here, and I'm like, okay, for about $4,000 to $5,000, you can really get a good camera, good lens, and start shooting pictures. But then, how long is it going to take you to learn that camera and get your money, out of it with $50 shoots? And I think with PDR, you can get yourself about $4,000 to $8,000 worth of tools, and you can get that money back in the same time. So I would say no. But another guy said they do not finance any PDR classes.
They don't give loans for PDR.
Yeah, they don't loans, but they give it for college. And honestly, I think you're not looking in the right place because
small business loans
are everywhere. So you just have to make sure that you're correct with your finances, and then they'll be willing to give you that small business loan. I think I might have jumped off here. Are you guys good?
I'm trying to.
Okay.
Trying to read all these are coming in so fast. So.
But real quick, so how discouraging was everyone's first year on the street actually billing customers? So once you're trained up and you have the skill and you can fix a dent, now you have to go out here and bill customers for your service. How difficult?
Very difficult because you're not even confident that you can even repair dents. The first year I was not confident. Second year I wasn't confident.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest hurdle.
I went straight into a massive, terrible hailstorm my first year out. I stayed in a hotel my first year, and
you didn't have to hustle door to door.
No, it was crushes, grapefruit stuff. Yeah. It was terrible stuff, but it helped me progress. You know what I mean? It helped me get to the point to where I felt a little more comfortable fixing the dents.
Yeah, I was confident in my skill, and that was enough to go ahead and give me that bravado to talk to a customer, because I was coming from this aspect of I know what I'm doing. I'm here to perform this service. You kind of know what PDR is, but don't really at the same time. So just kind of let me do my thing. Here's the bill, and we need to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jonathan
says interior cost me $20,000 to get it up and running, and he made 94. Hopefully, Jonathan, you're not too mad that I released this because you did text it, but He made 94K in 4 months. So guys, if you're all about the money, it looks like interiors is your best bet because you ain't making that with PDR. Your first 4 years. So 4 months. So kudos, Jonathan, on that one. Any other questions that we have? Are we lagging here?
No, we're
No.
good.
Okay,
fine.
Okay. Is there any other questions that we have here?
No, everyone's just commenting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spending money chance without getting.
Yeah, I mean it's a struggle, and one thing I think and someone said it in one of these top chats, you need to want it more than you think you want it. This business is all about what you put into it. So if you go home and you put your mind to it and you put your head down and you're grinding it out, you're going to get farther than the guy that's just doing it a couple hours a day. Or it's all about how bad you want this. And I keep telling even my guys, you need to want this. You need to put the time in, because it's either going to take you a year or it's going to take you 5 years.
Yeah. And Straightline said define expensive. So like getting into this trade, what's expensive to you? And I can understand, someone looks at the tools but when I was a porter at this body shop, and I remember saying, hey, I want to be a body guy, or I wanted to paint cars or something like that. And the PDR guy there is like, you're never going to make your money back on your tools ever. Your Snap-on box and everything that's included inside, you're never going to make your money back on them. You're always going to be, with this trade, you can have a hefty set of tools and be good for, the extent of your career, I want to say, but you always, you kind of always want to be getting newer stuff, but you can be good with a set of tools and it'll last you a very long time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I guess in certain aspects it would be expensive for some people. I almost dropped 20 grand on tools, so I almost financed that. So this was definitely a cheaper option for me.
I don't know if you guys want to reveal this, but Dr. Den asked, how much money did you guys make your first year? And mine was 26,000.
Mine was 24.
I don't remember.
Well, you did hail, so you probably was just racking it up.
But as a new tech, it was probably like for him, like it was so much money, but like in the grand scheme of things,
probably beat.
It was 17 or 18 years ago, so I don't.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And again, I think it boiled down to just repairing and then the confidence and stuff like that. This skill is very hard to learn. I think we all talk about, wheel repair, interiors, and all that good stuff. But, I think there's something to be said when you can learn something in a month and be good at it. A wheel guy can learn in 2 months and all of a sudden, he's good enough just like the rest. Anybody can get into that market. You put, 10 grand into a truck and all of a sudden you're a wheel guy or an interior guy. So with PDR, all right, put your money, here's a dent. Show me.
Yeah.
There's no painting. There's no redoing. There's nothing. You tear it up, it's going to the body shop and you're going to have to pay.
What's your guys' opinion on breaking into the industry? Would you go straight to work for yourself or work for someone else, knowing that the end goal is to work for yourself? I'm going to go with the latter on that. If you can get training and work for someone else, you're going to learn a lot more than trying to do this on your own. You're going to gain a bunch of skills that, you may not have thought of, dealing with certain situations that may come up, and you kind of have that company there as a backup to, take those situations on for you, but you'll at least know how to address them and take care of them if they do come up. So I would go with the latter and saying, if you can get on with someone else, knowing the end goal is to still work for yourself, that's okay. That can be a personal thing, and always just keeping that in the back of your head and not letting that overpower what you're actually trying to learn with the company that you're working for. Because you still need to respect them and give them their time as well.
I think I would say it depends on the market. It depends on your area. If I had to learn this right now, I'll probably team up with a guy that I can see advancements. He won't just treat me like a number, and give it my all and kind of work, because a solopreneur or this industry, you have to do so much as a business owner, and you know, if you come in Washington D.C. or Crofton area, me and Ryan gonna tear you up. You ain't gonna get a chance to even breathe. So it's kind of like, why even deal with that when we can grow together? So, but if you got no dent guys in your area for 100 miles and you see the opportunity, by all means, take it. It's going to be a little easier. But if you're sitting there in New York or any populated area that has a ton of dent guys, okay, you can infiltrate the market a little bit, but not much, because, you know, there's already established companies in your area. There's not enough. There is enough work, but there's not enough people who know about us. So, or not enough people who care about it. And so it's, I want to say it's saturated, because you kind of distinguish yourselves from the saturation, but I don't know. I think if I had a number 2, a number 3 guy, you know, a guy that's my right hand man, it doesn't matter who owns the business. I mean, we're gonna grow together, and I think you can be more successful together. My highest paid dent guy, and I don't want to say his numbers, but so far I've not heard anywhere close to it. He works for a company, so, and what he brings in is a lot. So,
you know, and some guys, I mean, and I don't want to say that they're say it in a like condescending way or anything like that, but you know, they're not cut out for running their own business. Some are actually happy with all of these other things taken on by the company, and you know, and I'm talking accounting and dealing with customers and all different types of acts of running a business, that, you know, some guys aren't just equipped to handle, and they need just, you know, are better off focusing on the skill that they have and that they've learned, and just, you know, making enough money as possible, just maximizing what they can out of their skill.
But if you have the passion to be an entrepreneur, by all means, that's all. If that's always going to be in the back of your mind, then you have to step out. It is your calling, you know, and that's kind of how I was. I work harder because I enjoy the entrepreneur aspect of it. Alongside of the, you know, the actual dent repair. So if you always wanted to own your own business, then that's what you got to do, you know? So either one, if you got a lot of money or enough money to cover yourself for about a year to 2, then definitely go get training and start your own company. But if you don't have,
do you think dealing with some of the situations now as an entrepreneur were learned by working for the other company?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Not at all.
So there's nothing that you guys have taken. Anything? There's nothing.
Yeah, I think some of my weaknesses I got from them. You know, it's.
I mean,
I was always taught not to diversify, and I'm like, as a business owner, you know, I might have to diversify a little bit if the opportunity arises. So I don't know. I would say no.
maybe a little factors, but nothing that's key.
Yeah.
Nothing that's key that I could sit back. How about you, Dave?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that I was able to. There were certain situations that either came up with, you know, maybe a repair, a customer, a body shop. There were situations that I saw how they were handled, and then I know, as a business owner, how I was going to handle them, and I handle them completely differently. So I was able to have examples of ways not to do things, such as, you know, dealing with a customer who is unhappy with the repair and kind of going about that, being able to calm them down, explain to them, you know, what is going on, what needs to happen, what are they looking for to have resolved, how do they want to resolve this. You know, I think bad examples of how to do that. So what I was able to do is create good examples of how to actually deal with an unhappy customer.
Nice.
Well, I think
that's just one point.
I think that on that factor, it's a pride thing too. You know what I mean? It's on your shoulders and not the company's shoulders. So you're going to handle that situation differently.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Why do you go ahead? Sorry.
So guidance is key in this business, as in training. If you don't have guidance, and this is kind of that story that I was trying to put out there, is I have a new tech, went to some training. We actually met at one of our PDR workshops that we had at Chris's shop. And
I didn't know you went to training.
Yeah. He paid 1 week's training, and it really said he didn't even finish the week. It said it was the worst training ever. So this week we kind of turned on the training, and I wanted to see where he was. So he gets in there, and he's been practicing for a full year by himself in his garage, and every single aspect of what he was doing was wrong.
Wow.
So he has 1 full year of doing everything wrong. The only good thing is he's been staring at that light, kind of getting to figure out where, what a tip of a tool looks like, the drag feature of it. So you may sit back and you're practicing at home, but guidance is a huge factor in learning this industry. You can practice until you're blue in the face. You're still going to struggle. So guidance and those little bit of tips of trying to get a guy in the right direction mean more than that year. He spent a bunch of hours with me Saturday, and he sat back and said, this Saturday's better than any day that I had last year. So you can practice all day long. Doesn't mean you're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Yeah.
Starting over.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, we are coming to a close, guys. Don't forget, we have a podcast. This is going to be on a podcast. I believe, Dave, you're putting it up on Thursday or Friday, right?
I'm doing Thursdays, yeah.
Thursdays. So this show will be up on Thursday at PDR WorkShop Podcast, guys. And I want to thank everybody for supporting us. I think we're at almost 500 downloads on our podcast so far. So thank you for the support, guys. Any of you guys want to say anything?
Nah, it's been great. The outreach from you guys. We're getting a lot of comments on all of our stuff. Excuse me. A lot of questions. Don't be scared to reach out. When we were coming up in this industry, we didn't have this support system. So
and I
we're
think
here.
That's why we do it, man. It was so close knit, man. You couldn't even ask a question. So,
just the outreach has been awesome. I appreciate it. I know these guys appreciate it.
Yeah, for me, I like guys connecting in the chat, like asking where each others are from. If you can exchange information, that's was something that I wish I had. And that's actually kind of what happened with us three here. And that was a couple years ago. The communication has even grown from that, so guys being able to connect here, and we're giving them a place to go ahead and connect. That's what I take away from this, and I'm glad we can help you guys out.
Definitely, guys. Sure. And go ahead and share this this live chat, whether it be on YouTube or our podcast, if you can. We'll get more and more texts into our chat and our Q&A and our Facebook group and all that good stuff. So,
and if you guys have some topics or stuff you want to hear, it's easy to contact with us. Any one of us on our PDR Workshop Facebook page. I mean, anything you want to reach out, anything you want to hear, put it out there.
Yeah, definitely, guys. And the chat is going live, man. So we love to see the chat just scrolling through, man. So it looks like a few guys are connecting and stuff like that. So definitely a good thing. So, guys, we'll see you next week for another show. And that's it, guys. Peace.
See you.